it's great to be here, and thank you for coming. And I'm going to be reading new poetry, and I'm going to be reading the first page of my novel, Murder of Law. And I thought it would be an appropriate first poem, short poem, to read Dance! Exclamation point. Come on, dance on dream feet. The boardwalk is a wooden snake. Be afraid. It's okay. Or don't be afraid. It's your choice. Whatever makes you happiest. You've got Mercury's winged feet. What's better than that? Come on, dance. This crazy world can't wait forever. Now, my father said, things don't happen. You've got to make them happen. So this is my plan. And I want you to know, I'm not just standing up here without a plan. My plan. I am ready. I've brought down the boxes, duct tape, string, map of America, industrial scissors that cut through copper sheets. That's not everything, but it gives you an idea. In the distance, chainsaws. What a distraction. Like a platoon of angry hornets. This has been a long time coming, this plan. Half-assed ambitions, ridiculous aspirations. Seek God. Is that a plan? I don't know. I erase God. I'm thinking, I think. Not at an impasse, just thinking. I need a new toothbrush. Do I really? Is that a plan? I convince myself. Write toothbrush on the blackboard. There are 2 drugstores equidistant. One has fewer stoplights. This is my plan. Think, Stockdale. Is it God or is it toothbrush? Cleanliness is next to godliness. Is that biblical? Ted, my stepfather, would often say things to me as if he was quoting from the Bible. I would say, is that in the Bible? Ted would say, no, but I don't think it's inconsistent. God would want me to have clean teeth. This is at least quasi-biblical according to the book of Ted. George Washington had wooden teeth. Did he brush them? Our greatest president with wooden teeth. This is sad and embarrassing. I erase toothbrush. I stick a red stick pin on New York, a blue stick pin on San Francisco. I stretch a piece of green string right across the entire country. It looks great. Not sure what it means, but it is incredibly confident. I stick colored pins in Austin, Miami, Nashville, St. Louis, Cleveland, Chicago, Atlanta, Boston, San Diego. Different colored string zigzagging everywhere across America. On the chalkboard, I write, love, peace, God, thrive, Snickers, Rolling Stones, movies, friends, family, people, brothers, sisters, fun, happy, laughing. I collapse on the floor and close my eyes. Hurricane Andrew destroyed our home in Miami in 1992, but the upside of that was that it brought us here to Tryon for the year, living with my mom and Ted, as well as living on Freeman Hill Road for a bit. But that experience, and poets are allowed to do this, never has left me alive. Burning embers, like lunatic fireflies, ricochet off the walls. Collapsed roof of our living room. We dash from closet to bathroom, dodge flying, splintered furniture. The kids trust me. I am strong. Not as strong as this hurricane. They don't know this. Shattering fear, one of them will be ripped from my arms as we escape our burning home. As winds crash the house, as the house crashes in. Next morning, perfect sunshine. I picked my way through nails, wood, glass, trees, an atomic bomb survivor. A woman stands crying in front of an exposed dollhouse. Sheets, night clothes, intimate items, pink insulation dripping from a second-floor bedroom. Cry, rejoice. This is the poem for which I won, happily, the Sydney Lanier Poetry Prize. And that's why every time I see Frances, she makes me happy. I always think I could be in the IGA in the vegetable section. I go, oh, there's Frances. I feel like I just won something. So, it's called The Barn. I happily read it. I'm also not supposed to talk about the craft of writing, but I do want to say that I set my standards very low, and that's how come I'm able to be so prolific. And this is what I'm going to do. I've got about, oh gosh, I've got dozens of these. And in the last year and a half, I've produced about 700 pages of poetry. And what I do is I just write this stuff and fill it up. And so I'm just going to pass that around. That's the craft. That's the crafts part of my talk. But I'll be happy to entertain any questions after I've read. This is The Barn. The resistance non-existent, phantom ghosts or pathetically inept. They said there'd be one candle in the window. There might as well be a candle in every window of every house in the village. There's straw everywhere. They've scattered it all over the streets like a bandage. To heal them? Make everything all right? To cover the putrid smell? Women shrieking. What are they shrieking for? This is nothing. Cur dogs licking bones. Children, wide, terrified eyes in bombed-out stairwells. What could you do? Put her in your backpack? I had nothing. We had nothing. We felt like savages, not conquering heroes. Pride. No one had any pride. Dignity. Pride in the sewer. For what? For pride. We found a barn and collapsed inside. Tobin starts blabbering to the pigeons, to the lantern's waltzing shadows. Tobin, shut up. Go to sleep. He's onto the swastika now, ruminating. Says it's really an okay symbol. It's got style. I got up and took down the lantern, crashed it across his California skull. The straw went up in flames. We tried to put it out. The captain says, forget it. Get your gear and get out. We invade these people's houses, bully our way in. They feign a welcome. What could they do? I went into one and turned right around. Eyes so confused, soldiers, Americans, teeth literally chattering, in unison, 4 or 5 families huddled, cowering in a corner, waiting to be murdered. That sound, teeth audibly clicking, I thought, you know, teeth chattering, it's just a saying. I still hear teeth clicking. I wished I was back in the burning barn. This next poem is called Whooping Monkey Family. I grew up in Miami, and in the summers, we lived in Coral Gables. My dad worked in downtown Miami, but in the summers, at least for 2 summers, I remember we rented a villa at the Key Biscayne Hotel and Villas. And it was a house that we'd go to and spend 2 weeks, and it had pools and was right on the beach, and it was just a lot of fun. And Dad would just go into the office during the day And instead of going home to Coral Gables, he would come to the villas where we were, and he'd swim with us, and I'd see him in swimming trunks, which was really just an unusual sight for me. You know, he wasn't really a swimming trunk guy. He was a golfer. But so we would go there, and just down from the Key Biscayne Hotel and Villas was Crandon Park Zoo. And this is like a spoiler alert, because here's what the monkeys would do. But you had to get them going. And we could stand out there, and I had a pretty crazy family. We'd go, whoop, 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 whoop. And the monkeys would go, whoop, whoop, whoop. And so for years after, the Stockdale family could be anywhere, and we would start whooping. So, whooping monkey family. Now some good Samaritan, with instincts distinctly maritime, throws us out upon the beach where heels pressed down make fissures wrinkle and spider webs go outward, crinkle on lapping Biscayne Bay at dawn. Sideways crabs go skittering, stinging jellyfish slithering up the waves and puff away to Havana, Cuba, across the bay. Absurdity beds albatross, our whooping monkeys at no loss. At Crandon Park Zoo, they jeer and perch until whooping, whooping, they leap, swing, lurch for nothing but the fun of it, aware that we are one with it. Back over Causeway Rickenbacker, a family of whooping monkey actors, whooping from Dad's Cadillac. There are stingrays under Rickenbacker. People gape and gawk agog, but whooping toward my Lincoln logs, I look ahead and don't look back. We're whooping from Dad's Cadillac. Whoop, whoop. So Dad was a close friend, as some of you know, of Jack Kennedy's, and worked on his campaign. And he himself was a politician, a state legislator at one time, and a Dade County commissioner. And Daddy was appointed Jack's ambassador to Ireland after Jack was elected. So this is called, and we went to Ireland and spent 1961 and 62 in Dublin, in Phoenix Park. And this is called A Morning at the American Embassy Residence, Dublin, 1962. Eggs and fresh salmon for 3,000. They said it couldn't be done. Mom's German friend said, impossible. Pro bono publicists paid off just the same in coffee and sticky things at 5 a.m. Trapeze artists, tinkers, beyond the fringe, setting up in blue woods for teddy boys I can't see. Then the real excitement, cars, buses, people with champagne flutes, and I'm teased thinking, I know what a flute is, you blow through, dancing in the morning, red-cheeked musicians with a traveling universe, sand on the floor, mist draped over Phoenix Park like Christmas gauze staged for the cameras. Mom happy, frenzied. Best when she's frenzied. Directing the staff, feeding the press, air crisp, she pointing at what? And talking to Mary Lavin about writing. Before we know it, the big horses roaring across the field, binoculars, leather chair things like umbrellas old people prop their butts on, hurrahs. Peter Ustinov smokes a cigarette, waves it around, waving his hand around like a producer, smoke curling up, out into fresh morning. That was a wonderful experience living in Ireland. And I was able to meet the most fabulous people of that time. I mean, it was really extraordinary. I was able to meet Jack Parr, who came and stayed with us, and Princess Grace and Bob Hope and Bing Crosby. But I did put Peter Ustinov in this poem because really he was a fascinating guy. He was just a fascinating. And you know what I recall about it? He was curious. He was a curious person. So many of the people that we met were sort of outsized personalities. But he was a real interested individual. And by the way, my mother's book of poetry is on the shelf back there, To Ireland with Love, as well her book, I'm reading it, Patrick, 16 Centuries with Ireland's Patron Saint, which it's the day after St. Patrick's Day. I have to make a plug for my mother. Now this poem sort of is the rude awakening, and it's called Epiphany. It's straight autobiography, and let me tell you, on so many levels, it's a miracle I can stand here and read it. It's about my father, for whom it would be difficult for a boy to have more respect and more love. And as I say, it was the life-changing event in my life. Epiphany. They said that I was just like you, and nothing made me prouder. Say it again, in different ways, this time a little louder. You were everything a man could be, U.S. Marine, ambassador, so handsome in your business suit, walking out the door. Your suicide when I was 12 cast me into strangest hell. On my head, a bank vault door stretching to infinity. Just like you is what they said, but now you're gone. Now you're dead. Subconsciously still dedicated, loyal son, and so I waited. I do it too. So proud to be so much like you. Until that plain epiphany. How did I break through it? That simple thought that suicide, I wouldn't have to do it. That's a tough poem, I must tell you. It's really not very poetical, but, I did think for about 10 years that, well, you know, that's just what would happen. But thank God I do believe we all have a personal relationship with God, whether it be through Jesus Christ or Buddha or crystals, and truly that's the audacity of poetry. They asked me, what am I going to call this? I said, the audacity of poetry. Why not? And then I thought, oh yeah, but that was Barack Obama's book. I can't. But I thought, hey, I don't care. I'm calling it the audacity of poetry because poetry's kind of saved me. But not really. But it kind of has, because truly God saved me through all that. And I think that it's only through God. Again, I mean, however you get to that perfect universal thing that I think that, I mean, so many do believe in. It's just how you get there and then how you sort of manifest that in your own life. This is called Jesus and Me on the Red Planet. The planet is empty of all souls, but me and Jesus. It is quiet and red, but it's not. Could be Mars. I know where I am. Red planet dust up to my ankles. No sun to speak of, haze is all. I see angels, naturally. Great hosts, sadly impassive. They do not rescue me. Rescue me from what? On this planet now is only Jesus on the cross and me. Is he lonely up there? He doesn't look it. Or sad either. Or even involved. But I can't leave. It is just him and me after all. I do have faith in him for what I don't know. That some expensive speedboat will zoom across the dust and take me to where expensive speedboats go. If I walk over here, is it different? Or here? slightly different, a different view of the cross. He will not look at me, but he is looking at me. Like the painting whose eyes follow you, no matter where you go. So now, okay, that we have discovered and talked about suicide and Jesus, let's get to some really serious stuff. This is called Cordovan leather tassels. As the cab pulls away from the window at Macy's, those tasseled loafers leave ethereal traces that pummel your heart, torture your soul. Cordovan leather, the taxi rolls on through the streets, crowded ribbons of satin, this hell of Manhattan, where each stranger's face is telling you, buy them. The eyes of a child pleading, try them. And the farther you drive, the stronger the need. In the soul of a man, a soul you must feed, for a spirit empty is a spirit dead. You know the soul must be fed. You close both your eyes against Cordovan hue, but in your mind's eye, they are there in plain view, dangling, twisting as if on a string, as an angel sings amid sparkling light. But the farther you drive, they recede out of reach as you picture yourself alone on a beach. No more bustling crowds, no more taxi or chauffeur. Just you in a bathing suit, hairy legs, loafers. Life fully achieved, life with no hassles, just you and your Cordovan leather tassels. Now, I did threaten to do this, so I've got to play the harmonica and sing at least one song. So for those who demanded this, I got an angel, angel's got a broken wing. I got an angel, angel's got a broken wing. She don't fly anymore, she just cries and sings. I got an angel, she won't communicate. I got an angel, she won't communicate. She got the key, she won't come through that gate. If you've got an angel, better treat your angel right. You'll be staring into the arms of a lonely night. Lonely night. Lonely night. Lonely night. I had to do that for my favorite bass player, Dave Olsen, who's up here, so had to do that. All right. Now, we do have this wonderful poetry festival coming up, April 26th. So want you to come, but even if you don't come, I want you to buy my book, Murder of Law, after this very reading, because I'm going to give all the proceeds to the Linear Library, and just to sort of wet your whistles, I'm going to read only just a little bit from this. It's hard to entice you by just turning to a page and start reading. But chapter 1, Kashigian knocked and pushed open the door. Night motioned him in with a violent wave. I heard about it, said Kashigian. He saw the train coming. God damn, said Knight. He stood up and threw an unlit cigar down on his desk. Kashigian silently took a seat. Knight walked to the mahogany French doors and grimly looked out on the gray November campus. He stood with his back to Koshigian, hands locked behind him. Koshigian didn't speak. He wasn't stupid. Dean Knight whirled around. Who the hell is Billy Burns? The troublemaker. Remember, the one who wanted to see you. We talked about him. He's my student, so you pawned him off on me. You read his letter to the Times? I've read it. It's a nothing letter under any other circumstances, said Knight. I walk into the plaza. Who's the first person I see? Chauncey, in all his glory. Poor timing. In his wheelchair, his chrome chariot. He says, got a rebellion on your hands, Dell? I thought he was talking about the sexual harassment suits. Anything to undermine me. Then all of a sudden, I'm surrounded by a dozen laughing hyenas in Gucci loafers. What the hell are they talking about? It's a big joke. Do I have Socrates' head in a jar? How does Blackstone stack up against the University of Florida? Did I see the obits? Obviously, said Koshigian, you hadn't seen the Morning Times. So, I do ask you to please buy it, not for me, but buy it for the library. Hey, has anyone read this book? Yes. You there. Fabulous. Did we arrange this beforehand that you would say that? Did I give you any money for this? Did I give you to say that? Do I even know you? Do I even know you? Don't even know you. All right. Some of you know Ted Proudfoot, my stepfather. Great guy, loved this guy. Moved here in 1984 and lived in Fairlane, on Fairlane Road, up behind Benson's fruit stand. This is in honor of Ted Proudfoot. It's called Carl Sagan. Christmas card of Mom and Ted. Ted on the tractor. Mom with her arms around him from behind, near the roses that she tends like a mother. Retire from Union Oil after 40 years. You get roses and a tractor. We'd all get drunk in the dark on the screen porch, and Ted would talk about Carl Sagan and universes beyond universes. Recurring theme, until I told him one night, stop with the Carl Sagan and universes beyond universes. I need better stuff from you than that. I'm trying to raise a family. No more Carl Sagan. Now I'm retired. He's dead. And all I want to do is get drunk, sit on the porch, and hear Ted talk about universes beyond universes. Shit. And this is called Brown Thrashers. I went to the University of Washington, and my favorite poetry teacher was a fabulous guy named Nelson Bentley. And he was a protege of Theodore Retke, who had also been at the University of Washington. Well, because of that, we got a good dose of Theodore Retke, who I kind of have to respect because he was a great writer. But you know, Retke, or whether you don't know, it seemed to me anyway, wrote a lot about bugs and crawly things. And you know, I just wasn't ready in my development for bugs because I just didn't get it. But you know, now I'm 61 and I'm just now getting to, you know, bugs and, you know, things like this. So there's some bugs in this poem. So Brown Thrashers. And Gail and I love to watch the bird circus every morning out the window of our kitchen. Brown thrashers are the madmen of our yard, attacking what we call our grass, tossing bits of hay into the sky, looking for that perfect strand to line their home, now under construction. At eye level, in the tall bush next to our garage, they are in a tear these final 2 days, flaying back and forth. A third thrasher insinuates itself, hopping around, a proud howdy doody. Who's your daddy? The two kamikazes dive bomb it the hell out. Days later, I peek into the bush. Mama, motionless, staring, a stone hard look that says, any closer, I will peck both your eyes out. They're back to ground stabbing now, sharp beak jackhammers, rooting out bugs and crawly things, shaking the life out of some unsuspecting creature, swooping it with graceless urgency back to their 3 young'uns who can't wait themselves to be hammering the ground, tossing dead grass into the open sky. Gail and I have been blessed with 5 great kids, and it's all due to her wonderful motherhood. And well, this is a poem about Leah, our last at home, our last bird in the nest. Leah's national anthem. We were strangely shocked when you announced you wanted to sing the national anthem at a Friday night football game, because we didn't know you sang, except to yourself and then quietly in your bedroom. As that given Friday approached, you were fine. We were anxious. I dropped you off early and went home to get Mom. Approaching the stadium, we realized the loudspeakers were pointed right at us. We decided we could hear you better from the hill and waited, our backs against the school, to shield us from the cold November wind. The announcer got your name wrong. And now Lee Stockdale will sing the national anthem. You started so high, I thought you'd never reach that top Whitney Houston note. I felt myself cupping each fragile word between my hands like a butterfly. Your voice was sincere, more sweet than confident. The top note for you was never in doubt if it was for us. And you were perfect. Mom and I hugged each other in the cold. She did it. I read this Friday night at the Upstairs, so I'm a repeat offender if you happen to have been there. Gail and I walked down from our home to Harmon Field and walk along the Pacolet River. And so often we see our good friend, the Heron, down there, and it's just such a wonderful sight. Heron. The heron appears to ignore me, appears actually to ignore the whole world, hasn't moved an inch in forever. Regal owner of this river in which I stand upstream in hip waders. She, statue still in her fine gray suit, stabs her beak so swiftly, precisely, into the clear, cold water with such cool confidence, I know she's scored. I see only as she shakes her beak and throws her head back. Finally, her long, thin, graceful legs, this one, now that, lifted in perfect time with the symphony that serves as the score for her sacred life. The strings, trumpets, timpani fill and swell under her arms, her wings, lifting her up, now higher, on this Heron highway, her river, as she passes silently above me like opening night at Lincoln Center. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. I see Kathy Smith Bowers in the audience, but you know what? I have to say, I love that poem. Here's the funny thing about that, and this is part of my craft speech. My mother is often there with me, and I really believe that, that she gave me that poem. And I'll just say, I really did, you know, I did thank her for that after that. So we had a little conversation, but it's a beautiful poem. I kind of can't take credit for it because I really do believe that Mom sort of gave me that. So I guess I don't know if you're really allowed to say, oh, that's a really beautiful poem, but I really say, hey, Mom, you did a great job. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. This will be my last poem, and I want to thank you so much for coming. I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you may have about any of this. Otherwise, Gail has cooked some really great cookies, and we hope that you'll join us in the fireplace room after this. And again, thank you very much for coming. This is called Can You Believe? Can you believe what everyone said? Can you believe what everyone's saying? That Jesus Christ is raised from the dead. The reason, apparently, they're all feverishly praying and building cathedrals right up to the sky, all singing us about the sweet by and by. You don't even have to listen to hear it, buzzing like flies. The Holy Spirit, shaking and quaking and raking souls in a fiery hell for whom the bell tolls. I run like a cheetah to get out from under all of the rain and the lightning and thunder as it strikes me deep in the pit of my heart, where I wonder, can there be this spark to wake my soul from its lusty dream and lay me down in that cool, flowing stream coming down from that mountain on high, at the top of which God's all-seeing eye, peering down into the soul of each man with perfect forgiveness and understanding, shatter this dream, burst my soul, cleanse my heart, make me whole. Give me the words to call from the hills, whether my voice be weak or shrill. Give me that faith, your sword and shield. Let me proclaim the love that is real. Thank you very much. Whooping monkey family, the Whoopers. You know, I was certainly writing poetry in high school, and I was writing before that. I remember writing with my mother because she would type and I would like dictate. Hooves on a cobblestone street. But Mom, and I was probably in 5th or 6th grade, but I was writing pretty early on. Yeah, but I was really, I call myself sort of a competitive writer in high school. I started an underground newspaper, or a magazine called The Herald, Harold, and we had poetry and some irreverent articles from my friends who I gathered around, and I will say that nothing will ever beat The Herald. Nothing could ever possibly beat The Herald. That was just so much fun, and it was so irreverent, and so. But yeah, I've been writing kind of all my life. I do know I wrote my first song between high school and college, and I've written, you know, lots of songs. But I love poetry, and I'm so grateful that I'm tremendously grateful that I've had the support of this community. I cannot say enough of how supportive the community has been. You know, I've really made a change in the last year and a half or so to trying to write this. It's just so wonderful for me. And the audacity, frankly, is that I'm sort of reinventing myself. And it's just a great blessing. And I'm so happy to be able to do this. It's just fabulous. I just love this, and I would love to do more of it. And I'm going to keep writing. I mean, I'm going to fill up those yellow legal pads. Yes, ma'am.
Who are some of your favorite poets?
Well, I love T.S. Eliot. I love Dylan Thomas. I love W.S. Merwin. I love Kathy Smith Bowers. I love Mark Doty. Whoop, whoop. I love Mark Doty, who I've just, been introduced to. But, there are so many new poets out there. It just blows my mind. And I'm really so excited. I mean, I love Greg Lobus. I love Nancy Holmes, with whom I'm in a workshop. I mean, I love Greg's poetry. He brought a poem to workshop on Friday that it knocked me out. I mean, so I'm so excited about poetry. I'm so excited about so many of the new poets that I just want to be in there, in the mix. I just want to, be in the readings and the workshops, and it's just so exciting to me. And poets whose names I don't even know. But, I read T.S. Eliot's The Hollow Men, and I just think, okay, everybody just stop. I mean, I just think there's so much out there. But actually, my favorite writer, I think, is Samuel Beckett. And I don't know, I don't even know his poetry, but I'm listening to, this is embarrassing, about the 20th time to Malloy, a very not well-known novel, Malloy, which is just unbelievably good to me. I just love it. And of course, Waiting for Godot, Beckett's play, is just so wonderful and weird and quirky and interesting and imagination exploding and just so great. So I love Beckett. I just really like Beckett a lot. Well, that's a wonderful question, and I know that I have friends who say they couldn't write. I have poet friends who say they don't want to write a book, a novel, because it's just too long and it takes too much concentrated effort. This is an interesting story, actually.
It's very poetic.
This is poetic. It is. Are you saying that? Are you telling me something? Or, well, I'll tell you how this came about, just because it's kind of an interesting story. I was in law school, and my third year was so boring that I started singing songs and making up songs for law school, the musical. And so I wrote about 15 songs, and I was going to make it a musical. But then I thought, that'll be too hard to put on. So but I got to get it out of my system. So I wrote the novel, and it's got a huge backstory. This novel, my agent and I were able to get in a meeting with, what's her name? Gosh, Maureen Egan, the senior editor at Time Warner Books, and Larry Kirschbaum, who was the president of Time Warner. So it had been around the block. I had 2.5 agents, and finally I just thought, okay, forget agents, I'm just going to publish it myself, which I did. But I'm going to do something that I hadn't planned on doing, so I'm going to take a drink. But I'm going to sing the first song from the musical. You ready for this? All right. And you have to envision the beginning is like kind of menacing. So it's all of these professors in dark cloaks, like law judges' cloaks, and they're on stilts. So that said, if I can remember the words. Welcome to law school. You're going to like it. Welcome to law school. Come on, we'll strike up the band. Come take our hand. Meet your professor, professor of law. He's going to show you, but you'll never know what you saw. What you saw. Welcome to law school. You're going to love it. Welcome to law school. Knowledge will shove it your way. 600 pages a day. Meet your professor, professor of law. He's going to show you, but you'll never know what you saw. What you saw. Roe v. Wade and contracts breached. You're gonna expand your intellectual reach. Whoa, yes you will, boy. First Amendment, civil rights. You're gonna be hitting the books all night. Welcome to law school. You're gonna like it. Welcome to law school. Come on, we'll strike up the band. Come take our hand. Meet your professor, professor of law. He's gonna show you, but you'll never know what you saw. What you saw. What you saw. What you saw. Welcome everybody to law school. Oh boy, I can't believe I remember those actually.
Long-term memory.
But long-term memory. But boy, I mean, I did put a lot of work into those songs. So actually, I could probably just sing them all, just because I was so bored my third year of law school. I was singing these songs on the way to school. Huge, and it's a great question. And I'm happy to say that the poem Epiphany, that I was so much like my father, I mean, it was just a given that I was going to be like my dad and go into politics and do that. And then when Daddy died, the politics, he took his life a week after the assassination. So that sort of soured me on the whole idea of politics. And now I've got a son, Ben, who's been the president of his freshman, sophomore, junior, and then student body at Polk County. Now he's the president of some Democrats organization at NC State. And I keep telling him, you really want to do that? Oh, gosh. But Mom was so instrumental because when Daddy died, Mom was a poet. And it was just sort of a natural that I kind of veered and drifted toward her interests. And there were New Yorker magazines all over the house. And she was always, talking about poetry, but not trying to get me into it. But just we would talk about it. And so, yeah, she was tremendously influential. And she was also a critic without being a critic. In other words, I might give her something, and she'd say something to me, but not as a critic, if you know what I mean. She'd just, oh, I really like this. Or, you could change this, so, but, I mean, she wasn't like a mentor or a tutor, but it was just a natural thing that I sort of had to follow a model, and she was that model after my father died, yeah. Well, thank you so much, and you're a wonderful audience. Thank you. Thank you, dear.
Great job.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I got an angel. Angel's got a broken wing. I got an angel. Angel's got a broken wing. She don't fly anymore. She just cries and sings. I got an angel. She won't communicate. I got an angel. She won't communicate. She got the key. She won't come through that gate. If you've got an angel, better treat your angel right. You'll be staring into the arms of a lonely night. Lonely night. Lonely night. Lonely night.